April 16th, 2007. This is a day that lives in infamy for most Virginians. This is the day of the Virginia Tech mass shooting. That day, a Virginia Tech student took a gun and killed 23 students and injured 17 others. This mass shooting is still the deadliest shooting in all of the school shooting history. The impact of this shooting was so large because a college student was able just to walk into academic and residence halls and open fire on students. Guns should not be allowed on campuses. According to the National Conference of State Legislature in 2019, 10 states now have provisions allowing the carrying of concealed weapons on public post-secondary campuses. And in 23 states, the decision to ban or allow concealed carry weapons on campus is made by each college or university individually. I hope you can see why allowing students and faculty to possess guns on campuses should be illegal. Let me first start by saying this is not about what kinds of guns should be allowed on campuses and what shouldn't. This is also not about any political debate surrounding the national gun issue today. Politics have nothing to do with the safety of learning environments. So this just has to do with the safety of the students. It does not have a political lean at all. This is important to us because we are college students and we are expecting to be safe and not be worried if the kid next to us in one of our classes has a gun on them. So there are 3 major reasons why we shouldn't have guns on campuses. We should not have guns on campuses because they have a large potential to be dangerous, and the students that would be possessing them already are in a volatile part of their life, and giving them a lethal weapon can lead to death and destruction if they're not in the right hands. And they should not be on campuses because they can be passed around from student to student without going through the proper channels that they need to be registered. So let's start with the potential danger by just being present. They are weapons. Guns are not toys. They are purchased with the intent to do harm. That is not saying that people buy guns to kill other people. Most people buy them to do hunting or for security reasons. However, they do have that large potential to do harm. They are not meant to stop someone or tase someone. They are meant to permanently injure someone. And according to the book Reducing Firearm Injury and Death, a public health source book in 1997, the best one way to reduce firearm injuries is to prevent shootings in the first place. And according to the American Journal of Medicine in 1993, the number of guns per capita per country were correlated strongly and was an independent predictor of firearm related deaths by gun ownership. So by that meaning, it's the correlation between gun ownership and gun deaths is that they can lead. The bottom line of gun ownership is that it can lead to the death and violence, even if they are not purchased for that reason. They are just purchased for hunting or any other reason. They can always lead to death. The next reason why college students should not have guns on campus is because college students are in a volatile part of their lives and are not always in the best mental state. College is an adjustment period, and people are learning how to be functional adults, and that can be very stressful then and kind of create a bad emotional state where they can have idealizations of homicide or suicide. I'm not saying that every student has these, but I'm saying these students have the potential to have this. It's not something that they are always thinking about, but it's something they could be capable of. Mental health is so important when your mind is developing, and a major toll on these students is that they are going through these processes, and these processes of learning to be a functional adult and all the emotional thoughts that are happening can lead to this homicide and suicide. And according to the Center for Disease Control, in 2019, among males, the most common method of suicide was firearms at 56%, and among females, the most common methods of suicide were poisoning at 31.4% and firearms 31.2%. According to the CDC, it is also the same for homicide that firearms were the largest cause of death. Allowing students to have access to these guns could be fatal. Virginia Tech occurred because the shooter had severe emotional and mental issues, and he fell into these idealizations of homicide as well as suicide. And keeping guns at a student's hands could prevent this. Most of this argument so far has been about the people who are holding on to these guns. Now let's talk about the students who are owning these guns and how they can get moved around. So, guns are objects that can get moved around by person to person. And we're college students. We leave doors unlocked. We, leave our things lying around even though we shouldn't. And firearms and anything can get stolen very easily, including firearms. Items that are on campus and that are an unlocked dorm room are basically a free ticket for anyone. So if you leave your dorm room unlocked, anyone can walk into your building and take your things out of your room. And this even happened here at Tennessee. And according to WBIR News in 2015, 8 University of Tennessee students were accused of taking part in the robbery of 2 fellow students in a campus dorm room. So the ways that guns can be passed around and end up in the wrong hands is endless. However, it is a constitutional right to own guns. The Second Amendment is commonly referenced in most gun arguments, but that Second Amendment was written while we were at war, and we're not currently at war anymore. But the argument on keeping the guns off of campuses are these restrictions legal and constitutional. And according to the Virginia Journal of Social Policy and the Law in 2011, public college and university governing bodies or state legislatures would thoughtfully adopt campus firearm regulations grounded in scientifically based research will have little chance of violating the individual's Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, especially when the implement presumably lawful restriction announced by the Supreme Court in Heller and McDonald. So there is precedent in setting these cases and setting these restrictions. So to summarize, guns can cause a large danger on campus, and that is a major reason why they should not be allowed on campus, even if they are just there for non-violent purposes. They still are violent objects. Guns in the hands of emotionally unstable students also is a major reason why guns should not be on campuses. Those students can have access to those guns and create an event just like Virginia Tech. And they can be transferred illegally. They can be transferred to those emotionally unstable students who can't get their hands on them because they can't pass a background check. So this is why we should just keep guns off of campus. And finally, I want you to think about this one last thing. Think about the 32 stones at Virginia Tech memorializing the 32 lives that were lost because guns were allowed on campus. Thank you.